Hello and welcome to the oddschecker betting show. This is a weekend preview ahead of Saturday's racing at Newbury and at Warwick. I'm delighted to be joined by Andy Holding as we go through the Newbury card and we have a quick look at Warwick as well. Andy, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Sounds like I'm a little bit better than you. You're still struggling.
I have been ill for 4 months, pretty much. Like, rather than getting better, you just get a bit better, but then you get back to being ill again. So yeah, as I say, it's the one thing they don't tell you about fatherhood is that your child is a vessel for colds, and that is where I am now. Yeah,
I'm very much in sympathy with you. I've had that for the last sort of 6 or 7 years. So your immune system takes a while to build up the right defences.
What's crazy now is that normally it's all of us are ill, but at the moment my daughter's not even ill. She's fine, I'm ill, so I don't know how that's happened. But anyway, we'll get there eventually. Just bring on the summer, is all I can say. Yeah, well, we got a brilliant weekend or a brilliant Saturday card at Newbury, including the Denman Chase. We've of course got the Game Spirit and also the Betfair Hurdle. We'll be going through all of those as well as the Kingmaker at Warwick as well. Before we get into the racing, just going to point the listeners and viewers in the direction of the oddschecker app, where you can find the best prices, booking offers, free bets, place terms, and the best tips straight to the app every single morning across all sports. Andy, before we get into the cards, I think we have to talk about the weather, because it doesn't look very nice, does it?
No, the forecasters have got it right. It's currently sort of sleeting outside my windows here up in North Wales. As I speak, I've got the TV on, and Luke Harvey, who's the roving reporter for ATR, is covered in snow at Doncaster. Doesn't look too bad there. It's just like a light dusting on the top. Newbury has had quite a significant amount of rain. For the values of this podcast, a good friend of mine lives literally right by the racetrack, and he said at best it'll be soft, probably even be heavy come the weekend given the forecast. So I think I've had to, like a lot of punters now, factor in that into the equation when assessing some of these races, which look totally different to what they were perhaps early on in the week when we were looking at good ground.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I'm in London and it's probably the worst possible weather to be ill in, where my feet are wet. It's horrible outside. It's not very nice, and the forecast is going to be carrying like this. So we have to caveat all of this by, I'm sure, Andy, you'll be looking for mudlarks in terms of the horses you're going to be picking out. But with the heavy ground that is likely on Saturday, make sure you stake accordingly, I would say. Let's get into the opener now. There are no prices as of yet. We're recording this just after midday on Thursday, so just an hour and a half or so after final decks. We've got a novice hurdle in the 12:55 over 2 miles. No prices as it stands, Andy, but do any of them stand out on the numbers?
Well, you'd have to probably making headway favourites based on his overall form levels. Second in a grade to Haydock, beyond the Tamuras, and then I thought he ran respectably in that race that was won by Django Blue. The old Tolworth hurdle, which was moved over to Aintree, of course, if you remember, over the Christmas period. And he finished fourth, probably being around 10, 15 lengths. Went well for a long way, kept on quite well, proved that he can handle a softish ground, testing ground, which it was on that occasion, and compete against a decent standard of opponent. I think he's definitely, like I say, got the best credentials based on that run. And I'm pretty sure that he'll end up running, because you look at the other 2 or 3 in the market. I mean, Hastings will get his form boosted or not by a horse called Pick Rock, who runs in the first race as we speak today, the 12:55 at Doncaster. Ben Pauling's horse was second to Hastings at Catterick, form of which looks okay. I think it was an above average race for Catterick purposes, but whether he's good enough to beat a horse like Making Headway, who's got form at grade 1 level, it is very much open to question. And then you get on to the other 2 big players, East India Express and Paraday. They've run in some nice novice hurdles. They both won, and they both then got beat next time out. But the key to those 2 horses, I fear, is nice ground. They both went well first time out and good to soft ground. And then I don't think that they bombed out necessarily. I thought both of them ran with respect, but the conditions at their respective next 2 races were a lot softer than what Connections would have wanted. Got a sneaky feeling that perhaps one of those 2, or if not both of those, might be withdrawn on Saturday if it went heavy, particularly Paraday off the flat, who wants genuine good ground. So the makeup of this race, as it stands at the moment, might look a little bit different come Saturday. And I wish I had the prices, because it'd give us a little bit more confidence whether to make something a definite bet at the odds we could interpret. But yeah, either way, if I've got to put a selection up, it'd have to be making headway at this very moment in time, provided he's not too short, of course.
What kind of price would you be expecting?
I think it'd probably be. I think if bookmakers price that race up now, he'd probably just be a shade of second favourite. I think they probably would go with Hastings. You know, sexy connection, John Joe, 2-1s by him, nice horse, improving, all that kind of jazz. Whereas the other one, even though he's got a higher rating, might probably be second in. So it'd probably be around about the 2-1. They'd probably be betting 7 for Hastings, 2-1, making headway, something like that.
Let's get into the race where we do have prices, and we'll start with the handicap hurdle over 3 miles. The second race on the card, the 130. Young Butler is the 11-2 favourite ahead of G.A. Henty at 13-2. American Sniper is 7-1. Ikarak 15-2. Emma Tom 8-1. Oh, Hills have just come at prices that have completely changed this. So Emma Tom now 8-1. American Sniper 9-1. Ikarak 9-1. Equinus 9-1. Kintara 10-1. Judicial Law 11-1, 12-1 bar those. Loads of really disagreement on the grids here, where Kintara's 5-1 with Hills, 10-1 with 365, Ikarak 6-1 with Skybet, 9-1 with Hills. Where do you sit on this?
Yeah, this race is very much one for the early birds who can spot the value in advance and kind of realise how the market might get corrected given the conditions on the day. I think Kintara's definitely got to be a player. That 10-1, that can't possibly last. I mean, he got beat by Jack Floyd last time out. It was a strong stayer. That was a good race at Warwick. I remember doing the figures for that race. It came out well on the overalls. It was the fastest hurdle race on the clock. It was the fastest overall circuit time, final circuit time. And he only just went down by the skin of his teeth against a strong stayer at the trip. I certainly won't put you off him. But there is an even better bet that you've just mentioned there, as far as I could see at the prices. That's 8-1 William Hill going about Emmentom. Now, the good thing about Emmentom is his form line is also just as good as Kintara, arguably, if not better. He got beat at Ludlow by a horse called St Davy, who slipped through my net last week. Actually, I was annoyed because I fancied 2 in the race. One which I put up on my column, also Neil Mulholland's. And I was going to put the 2 up in the race, and I didn't. But that St Davy clocked a big time when he won at Ludlow. It might just have looked an ordinary midweek race at Ludlow, but the time was good. Again, the circuit sectionals are really above average for the race of its nature. And Emmentom was the only one who gave him a race. They pulled well clear the rest. Now, looking at Emmentom's overall makeup, again, he's another horse that likes soft ground, so that's not a problem. But he also loves Newbury. You look at his form figures there. When he was trained by Warren Greatrex, I think he won 2 of his 3 runs here for previous connections. So adding everything up, ground conditions are likely to be very testing, suitability to the track, current form against a lot of other horses such as Young Butler, G.A. Henty. I don't think they've got strong enough form to be justifying them as being short price, market leaders, let's say, given the conditions. I'd have to say Emmentom is probably one of the standout bets of this podcast, and we haven't even touched upon a few of the possibles further down the line. So 8-1 for Emmentom. If you can get that, then he'll definitely be sure to come the weekend.
Yeah, 4 places as well with Hills. So you're looking out left, right, and centre here. Emmentom 8-1, yeah, short of 6-1 with most other firms on the grid. And Kintara, that 10-1 is with Skybet, Paddy Power, and the Betfair Sportsbook live score bet, and a couple of others too. Although I've just seen 365 come up 12-1, so even bigger there for Kintara. I mean, without labouring a point, I think William Hill and Unibet are probably more in line with Kintara 5. He'll be somewhere between 5 and 7-1, and Emmentom will probably be about 5-1 as well. So you can back them at 12-1 and 8-1 respectively. Each way, you can't go wrong with either one of those 2. Great stuff. On to the Betfair Denman Chase now, where Shishkin is the 8-11 favourite ahead of Protectorate at 5-2. Hitman 12-1. Sam Brown 25-1. Does He Know 28-1. And Andy, where do you sit on Shishkin? As an 8-11 prospect, having refused to run and then unseat when running an absolute cracker on Boxing Day, would you be going in at this price where you'd think if he lines up, goes and runs the way that he did on Boxing Day, there shouldn't be too many issues?
Well, the first thing to say, this race has been a little bit of a banana skin for short price favourites over the years. Yes, we've had the likes of Clandazobo, Native River, but we've also had shocks, including this race last year, if you remember, when Zanza won at 16 to 1, and a few others to mention. The things with Shiskin, it's because of that refusal first time out. That's always at the back of your mind as a punter. Do I get involved at 8 to 11, or do I take a shorter price once I know he jumps off? And you could take sort of 4 to 7, 4 to 6 in running. That would be my strategy. Not sure whether this is a podcast is an advocate for in running betting, but there'll be players out there who don't take fixed odds, and they do like to do the in running stuff. So I'd probably recommend that if you are going to back Shiskin, because there's no doubt that he would have won the King George had he not unseated rider. So he's shown both sides of his character this season. The refusal first time out, which is obviously worrying, but then he showed no recalcitrance at all at Kempton last time out, and he looked happy horse. He bobbed along in front, and he looked happy as Larry. And I thought he had the race in safekeeping when he unluckily unseated right. Let's face it, he jumped the fence okay, and then he tripped over, didn't he? It was just one of them things, a bit of a Goshen moment. He comes here fresh, and he likes the track. He likes Newbury. He's won here before over fences, of course, albeit over 2 miles. And because he's only got to go down the road as well, you'd like to think that a horse like that, who's perhaps has to be mollycoddled a little bit nowadays, he's got the home comforts of only nipping down the road 5 miles from Seven Barrows to here. I think that'll help his mental capacity. So yeah, look, I just think he'll win if he jumps off. Protector Out, he's definitely not quite as good as he was this time last year. He's still winning to a reasonable level. Don't get me wrong, it was a good run last time. I got beat by Long Press, who's a top class horse in his own right, and he's a contender anyway of sorts for the Gold Cup. But Shiskin is still capable of dining at the very top table, and I think if he is going to go to the Gold Cup himself, he'd need to be putting away horses like Hitman and Protector Up.
Do you see Shiskin as a genuine Gold Cup contender?
I think
10 to 1 best price now.
Yeah, you'd have to say so of sorts. He wouldn't be for me because there's too many risks attached. But if Shiskin was to win the Gold Cup, would I be absolutely flabbergasted? Absolutely not, because horses like that have a habit of coming back and bite you in the backside. I've written off horses worse than Shiskin before, and they've come back from the dead almost. So let's face it, he would have won the King George at the ripe old age of 11 the other day, and 10, I beg your pardon, which doesn't look bad in the scheme of things, does it? And in a Gold Cup where there's probably only a handful you could fancy Galop on Deschamps, fast or slow, long press. He's in that sort of long press category, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting to see how Shiskin goes. Yeah, 10 to 1 best price of the Gold Cup as it stands. Best price 8 to 11 for the Denman Chase in the 205. That is with Paddy Power and the Betfair Sportsbook. On to the Game Spirit Chase now. Over an extended 2 miles, and Edwardstone is the 7 to 4 favourite ahead of Boot Hill at 9 to 4. Editeur de Gite 7 to 1, Fernando Savola 9 to 1, Amarillo Sky 11 to 1, and Calico 18 to 1. 6 runners here, Andy. How do you see it?
I see there being plenty of pace on here, and it's setting it up for the likes of Edwardstone and Boot Hill. You got Editeur de Gite, and he knows one way running. Fernando Savola, similar comments apply, and Calico as well. Who likes to front run and really serve it up. So I think the three of them will probably take each other on. And it'll be a question of which one of the two in behind, the class act of the race, as far as I could see, Edwardstone and Boot Hill, who's got the wherewithal to take advantage. I must admit with Edwardstone, I don't really know where we stand with him. I think we're getting to the point where it's almost D-Day with him. The excuse manual's running a little bit thin. His first 2 runs have been perfectly respectable, behind John Barn, of course. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But then last time out, was it the trip? Was it him himself? Was it a physical problem? Was it a mental problem? I don't know. He just didn't seem the same horse at Kempton. So I'd always like to go with a, let's say, younger or almost one with fewer scars. He's no spring chicken, Boot Hill. He is a 9-year-old, but what I'm saying is I think he's had less mileage, and I think he would have won the other day at Kempton had he stood on his feet. It was one of those ones where the race seemed to be panning out perfectly for him in the Desert Orchid. Editor G went off in front. and he was just stalking the pace, going really easily. And given that they absolutely finished in a bit of a heap at Kempton, I would have been amazed if Boot Hill had won that and won it easily. He's very much a new kid on the block. He seems still to be improving as far as I could see. His first 2 runs were very good on the clock, beating a good standard of opponent. And like I say, this race should be set up absolutely ideally for him. More importantly as well, he likes the ground. So, yeah, I'd be more inclined to back Boot Hill at his respective odds around about 94 than Edwardstone at 7-4.
Yeah, 9-4 Boot Hill. That is with William Hill. Strong selection there for Andy in the 240. On to the Betfair Hurdle now, the 315, where a Castle de Motte is the 5-1 favourite ahead of Altabelli at 8-1. Iberico Lord 8-1. Look Away 12-1. Tell Her the Name 12-1. Origny Mill 12-1. 14-1. Only Matter of Time. Spirit Danu 14-1. Brentford Hope 14-1. Under Control 14-1. 16-1 Bar. Currently 25 in, Andy, but you think this might cut up a little bit? Ground dependent. Who do you see as being suited to the conditions come Saturday?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be too many non-runners because there's 100 grand in the kitty here. It's a top class race in its own right. So I'm thinking, there's the county hurdle further down the line, but who's to say it won't be heavy there as well. So you might as well have a roll of the dice here, and you haven't got to worry about quite a few more Irish horses coming into the mix. You have got a couple of Irish horses to worry about here, namely from the Willie Mullins stable, making it quite a difficult race to be dogmatic about because we don't really know how good a Castle de Motte is because he hasn't run in Ireland and he's only got French form to sort of hang your hat on. I wouldn't be so convinced about the other one. Only a matter of time. At least we've had a few chances to look at him. He's obviously got a bit of a quirk because he's run out twice as well. So I wouldn't be entertaining him at the price. But given that the ground's going to be heavy, we've got to make a decision of sorts here. And I'm falling down the side on 2 here. Altabelli, the key to him is very much testing ground. I think more to the point that it slows the others down more than anything else. I think when he ran at Ascot last time out, he couldn't go any faster if he tried. But he busted the gut to finish third that day, and Grant was too quick for him beyond Lucia. But he's proven that he can handle those hot Saturday handicaps with that run. He was good on soft ground last year. Again, the ground at Aintree when he was fancied for the Grade 1 there was too quick for him, and he just didn't look the same horse. But he's had 2 nice runs in the 2 best qualifiers this season. He's still lightly raced, and this sort of galloping track will really suit Altabelli. So he'd probably be my number 1 choice. And Gary Moore's got a rich tradition in this race. You've got to go a little while back since he last won it, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. But prior to that, I think he'd won it a couple of more times before. So anything that Gary runs in this race and say specifically for it, you've got to have it on your mind. And Spirit Donu was really good when he won at Sandown last time out. Again, the key to him is really bottomless ground, which Sandown often provides. He clocked a good time when he won at the Asia track. And the form has worked out pretty well since. The likes of Punta del Este has won since. And we've had other horses out of the race who've not necessarily won, but they got placed. So, I think it was a more commendable effort than it appeared on the time. Of course, he's ridden by Callan Quid as well, who's become almost a bit of a go-to Saturday jockey, isn't he? More over fences, of course, admittedly, than hurdles, but he's riding out of his skin. So, in whittling it down, given the conditions on the day, I would probably be looking at those 2. Tell Her the Name would have been the other one I would have had a serious look at, but I think he's more ground dependent than anything. I think he wants genuine good to soft ground, no worse, because he flopped at Aintree when it was heavy. He was back on song when he was good at Huntingdon. And I think a flat track on decentish ground is what he wants rather than, or more predominantly going right-handed than perhaps what he does going left-handed on a bog.
Yeah, Tell Her the Name 12-1 as it stands, but as you say, question marks over the ground. Altabelli best price 8-1. That's with Coral. Although both Skybet and Hills go 7 places already, you can get 7-1, 7 places there for Altabelli. 14-1, 7 places with both ones as well for Spirit Danu. No prices in the last 2, Andy. But have you got anything? We've got the bumper in the last, and we've got the handicap chase in the penultimate race. Anything that the listeners and viewers should keep an eye on?
Yeah, nothing necessarily in the bumper. I had a quick look at that this morning. I had a look at my figures, and there was nothing really that sort of stood out there. Lots of nice horses, but couldn't make head or tail if I was being absolutely honest without looking at the betting. But the race before that is a chance perhaps for Inchhouse to let's say, regain his reputation a little bit. And I don't want to be too detrimental to the horse last time. I fancied him at Cheltenham in that handicap one, eventually by Stumptown. But ultimately, I just don't think he handled the heavy ground. Now, that's obviously going to be a concern come the weekend. If it was genuinely bottomless, even on the Chase track, which can be better than the hurdle track at Newbury, I just don't think he's one for a real right slog in the mud. I still think he's going to be a contender for the Ultima at the Cheltenham Festival. I've said on record that early on in the season when I was pinpointing horses to follow, he reminds me very much of Monbeck Genius, who finished second in the Ultima last year to Corach Rambler. And the fact that he ran at Cheltenham last time out was an indication to me connections of obviously giving him a chance to have a look at Presbury Park. This is the stepping stone to go perhaps back to Cheltenham off the back of a good run. I think he'll run well. I think he'll nearly win, to be fair, on Saturday, because I do think he's a good horse. And obviously Newbury suits him really well. He's already performed to a high standard there twice. So I'd be prepared to go with Inchhouse again, with the asterisk next to his name of if it was heavy ground, I'd be a little bit more cautious than I would be at this stage.
Yeah, Inchhouse 25 to 1 with Unibet for the Ultima.
That's a massive price, by the way. That is that 25 to 1.
That is, yeah, with Unibet, so maybe worth taking kind of 16, 14 general market price. Over to Warwick, we'll just do 3 races at Warwick where we've got prices, starting with the 220, which is the Mare's Hurdle, where You Wear It Well is the 4 to 5 favourite. Again, that's a massive standout price with Hills. I mean, You Wear It Well is kind of 8 to 15 market price, but 4 to 5 with Hills. Win to the Lightning 7 to 2, Get a Tonic 5 to 1, Blue Beach 66 to 1.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, you know, you look at it, you think it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and it is really. I mean, You Wear It Well is just a different gear to this lot, isn't she? You know, she's a genuine sort of grade 2 horse at her absolute maximum. Obviously, you know, she's running grade 1 company, won at the Cheltenham Festival. I think it was a grade 2 she won, not a grade 1. And, you know, getting beat by Marie's Rock the other day, there was no shame in that. They tried her over 3 miles. The experiment worked to a degree. I wouldn't say wholeheartedly she's an absolute out and out 3 mile off the back of that, because they did go quite slow. It meant that it became more tactical more than anything else. So her stamina really wasn't a question. I just think she got beat by a better horse on the day over the trip. Let's put it like that. So connections are quite well within their rights to run 13 days later, having found an ideal opportunity up against 3 mares that are very much not in her class. None of these will be winning at the Cheltenham Festival, would they? You know, let's Get a Tonic and win to the Lightning. So I'd have to say, yeah, I agree with you. The 4 to 5 with Hills does look fairly tempting.
Yeah, 4 to 5, as I say, best price, that is standout. The next best in the market is 8 to 13, and that's with Coral and Quinbet. So yeah, that 4 to 5 is standout. Will it still be there by the time this goes out? The 255 now, the Veterans Handicap Chase. Do Your Job is 11 to 4 favourite ahead of Diego de Charmel at 4 to 1. Fast Buck 9 to 2. Riders on the Storm 5 to 1. Le Leisure is 11 to 2. Champagne Mystery 12 to 1. Broken Quest 16 to 1.
Okay, up steps. You wouldn't believe this. The second best price I'm going to put up on the oddschecker group.
Of course, I believe it.
Yeah, this is a really good bet here. This is horse called Champagne Mystery. He went massively into my notebook the other day at Cheltenham. He ran in that very good handicap on the Saturday. I was there that day on trials day. And it was a race that, similar to a lot of the races on the Chase track that day, if you recall, George, it was dominated by front runners. The likes of his Destiny, Garlow was always handy. When he won that handicap, beating Obradotto and the usual suspects in those kind of races. So I made a note of going back and looking at all the horses that caught the eye from the back of the field. I upgraded their efforts and made a note of wanting to be on them next time out. You go back and look at the run that Champagne Mystery put in that day. It was his first run for Tom George, his first run for 2 months, I think it was. So he was entitled to kind of, you know, A, come on for the run, be a little bit sharper for a race, you know, running a race of that nature. But he got there absolutely swinging coming down the hill. Your eyes are drawn to him. You think, what the hell's this? But because he put in such a massive effort in the hottest part of the race coming down the hill to get himself into a challenging position, it was no great surprise that run eventually petered out and sort of like the law of physics and science caught up with him. and he ended up in the end getting beaten around about 15 lengths. But, you know, when you consider the horses he beat that day were Frey Arms, Victorino, Bill Baxter, Hitman, Excello, easy as that. And now he's running against horses like Le Lingerie, Riders on the Storm, Fast Book and Do Your Job, who, to be the greatest respect to them, wouldn't be entertained in finishing fifth in a race of that nature at Cheltenham. How this horse is 12-1, I do not know. I think he should be favourite. So,
I mean, how would you play it, given you've got what have we got? You've got 7 runners, so most firms just 2 places. You just back win only or back each way?
Well, I mean, Ladbrokes have gone 10-1 3 places already. Hills haven't put their prices up, but I'm sure they'll go at least 10-12-1 3 places. Corals are 9 3 places. I mean, it's just like fill your boots. That I mean, he'll definitely be in the first 3. And like I said, this is a whole different ball game from running in a Cheltenham handicap such as that. I mean, he shouldn't really be in this. It's a veteran's chase. He qualifies almost by default, the fact that he's a 10-year-old, but he's clearly better than what most 10-year-olds are capable of running to. And you know, he's in here off a mark. Did he get dropped the other day? I'm just having a look. Did he get dropped for that run the other day at Cheltenham? Yeah, he went from 130 to 128. So yeah, it's just madness that he's in a race of this nature. So yeah, without labouring the point, this horse is definitely one of the best bets on the podcast here.
Love it. Champagne Mystery 12-1, best price. I've just seen Bet365 14-1, albeit they are a quarter of the 2. So maybe you want to back the 14-1 win only and then find your 3 places elsewhere.
I'd be having a decent punt on at 14s. You could trade out of that. I guarantee. Whatever price you take now, that'll be half the odd minimum on Saturday. You'll be in a really good position. So get on that early if you can. Love it.
Our final race we're going to look at is the Kingmaker. Just 3 in at this stage. Matata is the 4-9 favourite, and a Pembroke at 3-1, and Borbali 12-1. Andy, can you find again Hills going stand out and Johnson favourite? Can you make a case for Matata being beat?
Not really. A lot depends what happens between him and Borbali. I mean, in an ideal world, when you get a front runner like Matata that only has one way of running, you want an uncontested lead primarily. So Borbali, it's probably not as quick it's quite as exuberant as Matata. So he probably might just get to the front anyway. But Borbali's just a bit of a pest that you could do without, I suppose. If there is a bit of a tactical joust for the lead and he does get softened up, then maybe Pembroke you could see perhaps picking up the pieces. He'll be ridden chilly out the back by Tristan Doyle. There's no doubt about that. Connections will say, look, have nothing to do with the early pace and just stalk them and perhaps try and pick up the pieces late on. But even allowing for that, I think, you know, if you put it this way, if you fancy JPR1 for the Arkle, and a lot of people now do, and you could certainly see why, because JPR1 all of a sudden is well and truly in the mix for the Arkle, given what's happened to the Irish horses. The whole sort of like aura of Marine National's bubble's been burst a little bit, and you know the Facile Vegas don't look as good. It's up for grabs, isn't the Arkle? And JPR1 is right in among them, given that he's got track form and he jumped so well. And Matata served it up to him at Lingfield last time out. So that's the kind of level we're dealing with here with Matata, who himself might even end up running in the Arkle himself if he wins on Saturday. So I'd have to believe that Matata's best form would be good enough to beat the likes of Pembroke and Borbali.
So no is the answer. Can't make a case for Matata getting beat. 49 best price.
Unfortunately not. I try to get some of these short ones, but you know, and that's my nature. But when pushed and asked to try and find something else, then I'm not going to do it for the sake of it.
Great stuff, Andy. Thank you very much as ever for going through your selections at Newbury and at Warwick over the course of Saturday. Really appreciate it. Make sure you do download the oddschecker app where you can get Andy's tips as well as the best prices, bookie offers, free bets, and the best place terms all on the app there. We'll be back again next week, so do stay tuned and subscribe to the Oddschecker YouTube channel where you can find plenty more Oddschecker betting shows and racing weekly every Monday as well. Enjoy the racing and please do ensure that you gamble responsibly.